So yeah, as Monica said, I'm Samantha Quinn. For those of you whom I've not met, you've probably seen me manically running around the buildings. And I am a member of the P.I.G. team. I'm an RA here. And I will try to let you know what that actually means during my talk. I'll try to keep it brief, mostly because I'm also getting over a cold and tend to lose my voice. And last time I gave one of these presentations, I was basically asked to get off the stage because my voice got really bad and nobody wanted to listen to me anymore. So basically I'm just going to go a little bit about me, whether you want to hear about me or not. And then go into the entire P.I.G.S team, who we are, who's on the team, and then what we do, and then kind of give a brief overview of the projects that we have. And then if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. If I'm not able to answer them, I have a lot of very capable colleagues in the audience who will be able to help me. So a bit about me. I am American, as I'm sure that you can tell by my accent. I was born in Chicago, which is over here, and I then grew up there and then moved to Colorado, Denver, which is there. In the picture, it tells you how long it takes there by driving, because I wanted it to be more dramatic, and it's about 16 hours. So I'm quite used to living far away from my family, which is kind of nice. I moved to Colorado basically to become a ski bum for a bit, and also to attend university. I went to Regis University, which I don't think anybody in this room except for maybe Brian might know where that is. It's a very small university in Colorado. And then I did kind of business administration and marketing there. Went through 2 placements during my last 2 years. Decided I really didn't like it, but at that point it was a bit too late to change. Afterwards, got a job in marketing for a year, but again, really didn't like it. Didn't like trying to sell people things that I didn't really enjoy, so thought that I would make a switch to something that I did enjoy, which is when I started working at the U.S. Department of Energy in 2009 in their wind and water power program. And I'll get to more of that in a minute. After a few years there, I moved to Edinburgh, where I did my MSc in Ecological Economics. I was supervised by Henry Jeffrey and Andy McGilvery here for my dissertation, and then shortly after I submitted, I started working in IES. Because I do have kind of a life outside of IES, I included some of the things that I enjoy doing, which includes playing five-a-side with many of the other people here, hill walking and knitting, and also I really like bridges, which is something that some of my friends know. And then I guess this is from a hike that I went on last time I was home in Colorado. That's Long's Peak, and then last time I was home in Chicago, I went to a really fun wool store because I'm 95 years old at heart. And I found this really cool bridge when I was at home as well last time. So again, my prior work, I did a year of marketing, and then luckily got a job at the U.S. Department of Energy Golden Field office in Colorado, where I worked on research and development projects for technology readiness levels 1 through 8, and that included work for wave and tidal, conventional hydro, and also a bit of wind, and that was really looking at them from a technical project management on the funding agency side. In addition to monitoring the projects, I also helped writing the funding opportunities and then organized the review processes for those. So basically how, calling people in, experts for the funding, for the funding opportunities, and then assessing them, and then starting the process of negotiating. And this is my old team. We went to the National Wind Technology Center in the U.S., which is based in Boulder, Colorado. Okay, so then my current work, I work on several different projects. I started here in 2013, I guess September of that year, where I started first working on a project for UKirk. That was a road mapping project where I created a synthesis document of all of the, many different renewable energy roadmaps that are available. I'll get into kind of what roadmaps are in a minute. And so I did that for marine, wind, I think CCS, and a couple of others, can't remember off the top of my head. So that's available online there, kind of just highlighting the points that, looking at priorities that need to happen in each of those renewable energy to make them kind of commercialized. After that, I started working on the Tropos project, which was looked at the feasibility of multi-use platforms. Within that project, I conducted a life cycle cost assessment for carbon. We also worked on the viability and deployment strategy for that project as well. In 2014, August 2014, I started working on the DTOcean project, which I think many of you have probably heard several talks on over the past couple of years, so I will only highlight that briefly. So for that, I run, along with Henry Jeffrey, I run the coordination aspect of that. I'll get into what that means. And then we also work on, or I've also had to work on the Lean Wind project, which is lean logistics for offshore wind. We also coordinate the ERA joint program, and then currently I'm also working on DTOcean still, and working on a roadmap for Panama. I also do work with INOR, which I will explain, and then within the next couple of months, I'm going to be transitioning into working for Supergen Marine. So we call ourselves the P.I.G.S because we are the Policy and Innovation Group. When I started, we were 4 people. It was myself, Henry, Laura, and Annie McGilvery. We're just into 2016, and we're about 10-ish people. I know that there are only 8 photos up here. That's because we have one person who's going to be starting at the end of February, and then we have a couple of other people, whether they be PhD students or people within Wave Energy Scotland, that are under our heading, but I actually don't know them, so or they're not located here, so I didn't have a chance to get their picture to help relieve the embarrassment that I caused myself by sending in my picture for the flyer this week. Luckily, all of my colleagues were obliging. So we have Henry Jeffrey, who's our leader, and then Jonathan Hodges, who started here in October. Yeah. He's under Wave Energy Scotland and ETP. He's a business development manager for there. Laura Finley, which I think many of you know. Adrian DeAndres, who's also out here. Dave Bold, Owen, and Tom. And then, yeah, as I said, we have a few other people. So what do we do? Basically, our essence, I guess, is kind of looking at the dynamics between innovation, how you fund those, and how you get them to commercialization. And we create strategies. A lot of what I'll tell you about these projects that we do are us looking at the gaps and barriers that exist within the sector currently, and trying to find solutions and coming up with recommendations of how to overcome those. Whether that be for the sector, whether that be for a member state, an individual project, and we try to influence a wide variety of stakeholders, including government, industry, and other research organizations, among a few of them. So this is a list of some of the projects that we're currently working on, and I will go into them briefly. So our main project right now, we have a few main projects. I guess our flagship project is the DTOcean Project. Then we're also within Lean Wind era. We've implemented several roadmaps, Opera, Clearwater, Joules, Motion, High Drive, and then TC 114. So I'm going to try to give a brief high-level overview of what each of those are and what we do within each of them, and hopefully you can see kind of how things tie together within the group. So as I said, we are the coordinators of the DTOcean Project. It's a €5 million project. We have 18 different partners. So personally, that's been my role. About 90% of my time is spent on DTOcean, and so that's coordinating the day-to-day activities, arranging just different workshops and project meetings, and then but also we do technical work within the project as well. So the project is developing a software, and it's an array optimization software, and looking at first generation wave-entitled converters. And we use 3 different metrics to do that. That is economics, reliability, and environmental. Dave Bold, as I said, gave a talk on that in November. And I think so you can, if you want kind of a status update on that, you can probably look on the YouTube channel. Yeah. So that's my main role, and that's a lot of work on our end. And then, as I said, we're also involved in the Lean Wind project, where we're a task leader. The Lean Wind project is looking at lean logistics for offshore wind, trying to decrease costs and time, and using lean management tools and lean logistics. Our role within that is leading a task to develop a viability and implementation strategy, basically looking at the entire project and then saying, okay, if we want to implement any of these innovations, what policies need to be put forth in order to make these happen, and as well as infrastructural changes or anything like that. And so we'll be making basically a set of recommendations that will be provided, saying, okay, this is what should happen if you want to achieve this and move the sector, or help move the sector forward. Within Opera, we are a work package leader. They are deploying, the project is deploying a floating oscillating water column device at BIMAP, whichever way you want to say it, in the Basque Country. And our role is to conduct techno-economic assessment, as well as kind of liaise with the IEC, which I'll explain in a couple of minutes, for development of standards. We are a task leader in the Clearwater project, which is a subset of the larger P.I.G.S project, which is being deployed in the Pentland Firth and run by Atlantis Resources. Our role again is working on standards and liaising between the project and the IEC, and then kind of, which this is a good opportunity for both, and kind of shows you how collaboration within projects is that we'll be using the P.I.G.S project to help with validation of the DTOcean software. So that's been a really good opportunity for us. So Wave Energy Scotland, which if you have any questions about that, I'm sure Jonathan would love to talk to you about it. They've put out a couple of funding opportunities. And the first one was the PTO funding opportunity. And as a result of that, a company called Core Power won one of their awards. And we are a work package leader within that project called High Drive, and they are deploying a half-scale prototype at EMEC. Again, our focus within that project is looking at the is conducting a techno-economic assessment, and then we're also helping them to assess what their full-scale rating should be, currently their half-scale prototype is 25 kilowatts, so we're trying to see what would be the best, looking at levelized cost of energy, what they should scale up their device to be, to make it feasible for commercialization. Another 2 projects that we're involved in that were part of the second funding opportunity from WES, the novel prototype opportunity, are Motion, which is Cameron McNatt, and then Jules, which is out of Belfast. And that they're both testing at FloatWave. For both of the projects, we are helping them with their techno-economic analysis. And then we're also running feasibility studies looking at LCOE for commercialization. And I think hopefully I'm almost done. So a couple of other projects, I mentioned maps earlier. These are kind of strategy documents to help It can be international roadmaps. It can be for one country. They can be technology focused. They can be non-technology focused, but kind of help identifying the gaps and barriers and making recommendations on what needs to be implemented in order to either mitigate or overcome these gaps and barriers. One of them that we're working on, which is kind of an example of an international roadmap, is the OES Technology Transfer Roadmap, where we're working with partners in the US, Singapore, and New Zealand. Within that, we're trying to get information from other areas, so aerospace, mining, manufacturing, shipbuilding, and seeing what expertise and technology can be transferred to the marine energy sector and how to do that. And they've done that through sending out a set of questionnaires and then holding interviews with them. And because a lot of these, technologies that are already underway and that are very successful might have things that could be helpful in moving marine energy forward. And then an example of a roadmap that we're working on that's very specific to the country is Panama. We've also completed one for Chile. We're looking to see if it's even feasible for them to have any part of the marine sector, whether that be through deployment or whether that be through being part of the wider supply chain. And so we'll provide them with kind of recommendations. We've held a workshop to get more input from them, and then are doing some of our own research, and then we'll create this roadmap, and then we'll hold another workshop with them and tell them, okay, this is what needs to happen if you are to move forward and how. So I mentioned standards. We sit on, members within the team sit as kind of the UK representatives for the International Electrotechnical Commission on this technical committee 114, which is basically to set up standards for marine energy. And again, liaising between projects that say, somebody may be doing a project and they may say we need to have standards on turbulence. And so they'll come to us, tell us that, and then we'll kind of suggest that to start a working group, and then that's kind of how standards are developed within there. And then they have a whole variety of standards that they're already working on, but again, kind of liaising to make sure that we're working with the industry to create things that actually align with what's currently happening. And then this, I think, is my final slide. We also are the coordinators of the ERA Ocean Energy Joint Program. ERA stands for European Energy Research Alliance, and it's a group of research organizations that kind of lead the underpinning research for things that have priority areas that have been identified through these roadmaps that we work on. So to make sure that the research that that all of us are doing aligns with the needs of the industry. And then also it's to try to help reduce duplication and replication of efforts, because, well, it's to help save time and actually move forward. If you have people working on the same thing, then there's not really going to be necessarily advancements. So, and hopefully, if you find something really valuable and somebody else is looking at the next step of that, then you can help to share knowledge. And these are kind of our key research themes that we're looking on, and within each of those there's subtopics as well. And this is my shameless plug. So I'm currently the chair of the INOR committee, which is International Network on Ocean or Offshore Renewable Energy. It's a committee an organization that's been set up for early stage researchers, and it's run by early stage researchers. And it's kind of an informal platform for people to come and share their work. We put on workshops, we put on symposia, networking events, and I like to call ourselves the little sibling to ERA, because we're trying again to increase collaboration, reduce duplication and repetition, and to generally just get to know other people in the industry. And there has been some really cool projects that have come out of that. And Adrian is an example of somebody who we've met through there and through a collaboration project that he did with Andy McGilvery. So I think that's it. Reminder that ICOE is coming up next month, so if you're going to that, then sign up. I think that's it.
This production is brought to you by the University of Edinburgh.